Nick calls his father for assistance while Ian and Jordan arrange to frame, spoiler, for Sharon's death. On today's episode of The Young and the Restless, Nick is upset about Ian's freedom, Kyle and Claire spend the night together, and Phyllis assures her kids she will let go. To start the new year by himself, Kyle pours himself a drink and strolls around the Abbott mansion. Claire arrives and blows a noisemaker at the door, much to his amusement. They talk about how Harrison outplays him in games. As she settles in, she reminds him that midnight hasn't arrived anywhere yet. Thus, they still have the opportunity to greet the upcoming year together. They see that it is nearly midnight in Mexico when they check their watches. As they count down, they receive champagne and put on plastic hats. They giggle a little before sharing a kiss. After making out in his room, Kyle and Claire strip and get into bed. He tells her that was a nice way to start the new year after they have sex. He has a strong sense of intimacy with her, as if their bond had become even stronger. She makes him feel safer than anybody else. He has felt comfortable with her from the beginning, even though it is unusual for him to open up to someone so early. She makes everything feel the way it should have always felt. Is she afraid of that? He is everything to her, but she trusts him. She is unsure of her deservingness of this joy. He responds that it simply takes love when she asks if he believes in redemption. He can see how much love is shining on her, even though it sounds corny. Claire informs him that she feels content and cared for. They share a kiss. She decides to go after realizing how late it is. They cuddle up and he tells her to wait until the sun rises because he's not ready to let her go. Phyllis remembers the accident as she drives. She blurts out that she can no longer do this and slams on the brakes. Summer joins her brother at the bar in the Neil Winters Jazz Lounge, where they wish for a better year than the previous one. It must be. He explains that his conversation with his father went well. They understand that their mother still finds it difficult to see Danny with Christine. She probably made the right decision in leaving at that time. They consider whether it's a good thing that they haven't seen or spoken to Phyllis in a long time. He wishes that she isn't out causing difficulty for herself or some person. They can't wait to show her that they can protect her. They chuckle about how much she detests losing or acknowledging her mistakes. He asks himself whether this year will be different and she will forgive him. He is unsure. Her children are shocked to see Phyllis again when she arrives. She said she had to relax after going for a drive. She will disprove them and release them. She will have a fresh start in 2025. Summer and Daniel are certain that she thinks so, but Phyllis is aware that she has stated this countless times, but this time she means it. She ended up driving back to the scene of her accident after being turned on by Danny and Cricket's make-out session. She could see the person driving the truck, and the memories came flooding back. Sharon wasn't the one. At first, it seemed obvious that it had to be her, but ever since, Phyllis has had glimpses of the reality. She is no longer able to ignore the reality. It was an elderly woman wearing spectacles and having wavy hair. According to Summer, they must inform Chance. Although their mother claims she won't hold Sharon responsible for the collision, she will hold her responsible for framing Daniel. Phyllis says she will also overlook Danny and Christine when they bring them up. She was reminded that she nearly perished when she thought back to her accident. Now is the moment to concentrate on the future and a fresh start. Her son acknowledges that he will need to witness it in order to believe it. He is aware of how difficult it is for her to adjust, even if she means well. Phyllis would not say she is sorry for pursuing Sharon. Her obsession with Nemesis would kill her, even though she was just attempting to protect her family. Even if she turns out to be mistaken, she must take a back seat and allow the investigation to continue. If she had to make a mistake in order to assist her family receive justice, then so be it. She argues that she will highlight what will make her kids proud, even though they are giving her the benefit of the doubt. They are concerned about that. Ian inquires about Nick's family's coping mechanisms outside of society. "Stop talking," Nick says. He threatens to have him taken back to prison. Ian maintains his physical and spiritual freedom. The policeman comes back to explain that his account is credible. He works as a chaplain in prison. Nick is informed by Ward that he must perform penance for the remainder of his life. Nick informs the police officer that the Holy Roller is a deranged psycho. Since she is powerless to stop him, she leaves. Ian informs Nick that he is committed to demonstrating his redemption. Nick gets in his face and threatens to make him wish he had never been born if he does anything to upset anyone. Nick goes inside to see how Tessa and Mariah are doing. The news that Ian is free does not sit well with them. Nick claims that Ian is obviously there to stir problems and that he will stop him at all costs. Faith worries about witnessing her father's rage. Mariah screams about all Ian has done to her while he tells her he has a full mob with him. She is anxious about others around her, but she is over what he did to her. Nick questions whether he poisoned Sharon's medications. Mariah has also experienced this. Faith and Nick decide to visit the house to see how Sharon is doing after noticing that she never arrived. Tessa begins cleaning frantically and questions why a guy of such cruelty would have paused to save her life. When Mariah calls her mother again, she only receives voicemail. Tessa notes that Ian was in her line of sight for the majority of the night as she panics and paces. He probably couldn't have pursued Sharon. Mariah asserts that she is too strong for her husband to harm her in the same way he has in the past when she asks her if she is concerned about that happening again. She is adamant about protecting her family. Nick and Faith discover Sharon is absent from the tack house when they arrive. Faith phones his father and searches. Faith and Nick arrive at the ranch house. Faith is shivering, and Victor notices and wonders what's happening. It's Ian Ward. Nick declares he's back in Genoa City after being released from prison. He is informed that Sharon did not arrive tonight. When Nick called the police to report Ian, they just verified that his release was lawful. Authorities claim that he has settled his duty to society. Victor declares that he will find him since he hasn't paid his debt to me or this family. He calls. Jordan and Ian meet at the Red Door Motel. He remarks, "It looks like this year will be a good year," as he peers down at Sharon, who is gagged and bound on the bed. Jordan has used chloroform to keep her out. What are they going to do with her, she asks. He says, "Goodbye." Ward says they might be able to wrap everything up in a tidy bow. They make fun of the idea of stealing Sharon and accusing Phyllis of doing it. Explosive conflicts, each seemingly more intense than the last, characterized their first interactions. Both onlookers and experts were astounded by how their divergent approaches produced fights that were equal parts exciting and unpredictable. But as time went on, this competition grew outside of their work environment, permeating their personal lives and forming a story of obsession. Jordan's claims of victory simply strengthened Nikki's resolve. Jordan's confidence grew stronger with each setback Nikki faced. Fans split into passionate camps, each convinced that their hero would win out in the end, and their feud became the stuff of legend. The final exit arcs build up. No one could have predicted the stunning turn that opened the current chapter of their story. Jordan's aura of invincibility began to wane. Their reputation was damaged by a number of out-of-character blunders and public disputes, which made supporters wonder if they had lost their edge. Nikki's star was rising in the meantime. Nikki's improved confidence and competence, along with a string of strategic victories, established her as the undisputed heir apparent. However, their most recent meeting was the last spark. Jordan's desperation was evident as they further alienated their fans by using actions that many considered dishonorable. But Nikki maintained her composure and used the occasion to emphasize how different they were from one another. The storyline underwent a significant transformation, with Nikki emerging as the prophet of change and Jordan now being portrayed as a waning despot holding on to power. That encounter had far-reaching consequences. Jordan was under increasing pressure to demonstrate that they still had what it takes to compete at the top level after public opinion sharply changed in Nikki's favor. There would inevitably be a rematch, but the stakes were bigger than ever. It's a fight for redemption for Jordan. For Nikki, it's an opportunity to deal their biggest adversary the last, crushing blow. Handcuffed in captivity, Sharon awakens, Jordan's insurance policy. Amidst the turmoil of the rivalry's development, the story has become even more tense due to a startling discovery. A significant part of Jordan and Nikki's lives, Sharon has vanished inexplicably. In a terrifying twist, the reason for her disappearance is revealed. Sharon wakes up, tied in an unidentified place, and imprisoned as part of Jordan's desperate insurance policy. Jordan's reasons for taking such a severe action are yet unclear. Is it an intentional move to psychologically weaken Nikki before their rematch, or is it an indication of Jordan's mental instability as they search for any way to stay in control? A completely different dynamic is brought about by Sharon's imprisonment, which forces Nikki to face not just their opponent in the arena but also the ethical and psychological fallout from Jordan's behavior. Sharon finds the situation to be both terrifying and unbelievable. Restricted and constrained, she needs to use all of her strength to get through her situation. Their once powerful reputation is further damaged as public outrage against Jordan grows as rumors of her abduction start to spread. Meanwhile, Nikki is at a turning point in their life. With Sharon's fate at stake, how can they concentrate on the battle of their lives? The battle of the mind. The psychological struggle between the two has escalated to new levels as the rematch draws near. Jordan's unwavering confidence now appears to be tinged by insecurity. According to interviews, the fighter is plagued by the fear of losing and is determined to disprove their skeptics. On the other hand, Nikki has accepted their position as the challenger who became a favorite. The pressure on their competitor has only increased as a result of their composed manner and subtle barbs at Jordan's weaknesses. Both sides are fighting a verbal war on social media, which has turned into a battlefield unto itself. Jordan's fans hold out hope for a miracle return, while Nikki's supporters celebrate their ascent as a testament to justice and tenacity. This prelude's intensity has produced an environment where every word, gesture, and action is closely examined, heightening the drama in an already tense scenario. The last battle. The world will be watching when the time for truth comes. With both fighters taking no chances, the rematch is sure to be an unforgettable sight. Regaining the dominance that previously characterized their career will probably be the key to Jordan's plan. In an attempt to remind everyone why they were regarded as the finest, they would try to overwhelm Nikki with a show of strength and violence. But Nikki is skilled at countering Jordan's advantages. Their strategy will probably center on taking advantage of Jordan's flaws and keeping the poise that has come to define them. Nikki has a good chance of solidifying their reputation as the team that put a stop to Jordan's rule if they can persevere through the storm and carry out their strategy. The question of legacy. The legacy of both combatants will be significantly impacted by this matchup, regardless of the result. For Jordan, winning would be a reminder of their long-standing dominance and a joyful return to form. A defeat, on the other hand, would validate their downfall and would condemn them to the status of faded stars who were unable to change with the times. For Nikki, winning would confirm their reputation as a pioneer in their industry. In addition to marking the end of their trip, it would also demonstrate the strength of tenacity and strategic acumen. Even while a defeat would be disheartening, it wouldn't be as terrible because Nikki's reputation as a fierce competitor would probably live on, providing opportunity for future atonement. In conclusion, more than merely a contest, the conflict between Jordan and Nikki is a struggle of human nature, traditions, and ideas. One question looms big as the world watches this high-stakes drama play out: can they overcome the odds and retake their reign, or is this really Jordan's tragic exit arc? Will the victory of Nikki signal the end of one of the most famous rivalries in history, or just the start of a new chapter in their story? After all is said and done, the competitive landscape will be completely different. It is almost time to write the last chapter, which is sure to be epic. Mariah Copeland and Tessa Porter will be returning to the cottage, according to The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, January 6th. At this point, Faith Newman will become angry with Mariah over the disappearance of Sharon Newman. Mariah will question Tessa about her unexpected illness and insist on knowing every detail of Ian's visit to society after Faith apologizes for her outburst. Mariah will question whether Ian saved Tessa's life for her and whether he intended to market his transformed persona, as she would know he must have had a purpose. In any event, Mariah will be concerned and acknowledge that she is in serious jeopardy if Ian was involved in Sharon's disappearance. Victor Newman will dispatch a security guard to look for Ian in the interim. Nick Newman will tell Victor everything that happened tonight and believe that Ian was involved in Sharon's suffering. Jordan will continue to be irritated about her portion of their crossing cooperation in their motel room. Ian will guarantee that they will regain the love of Mariah and Claire Newman, and that the girls will suffer consequences if they fail to accomplish so. But instead, Jordan will lead Sharon to what seems like the sewer system. Jordan advises Sharon to be thankful that she isn't at the bottom of the river just yet, even if she will still be unconscious. Jordan will insist that Sharon will be her insurance policy after she has her chained up. Jordan will want to ensure that Ian fulfills his commitments and grants her her desires. Victor's security guard will find Ian in his motel room and bring him back to the ranch so they can square off. Victor won't believe Ian's repeated claims that he's returned to make atonement. Ian will act foolish when Nick demands to know where Sharon is. Ian won't believe Victor will do that when he threatens to make him vanish if he doesn't leave town permanently. Ian will calm Victor down by pointing out that Nick was threatening earlier and that the police are aware of his return. In addition, Ian wrote a letter to the police accusing the Newmans of being responsible for his death. At one point, Nikki Newman will walk downstairs and be appalled by Ian's appearance. Nick will provide updates on Ian's legal release after guiding Nikki away from the situation. Victor will instruct his security guard to follow Ian and watch him closely after he is released. Ian will eventually return to the motel room and see Jordan again there. Ian will acknowledge that his trip to the Newman property went as planned after sharing the news. Jordan will deftly assert that Sharon is exactly where she should be when Ian inquires about whether Jordan took care of her. When she's back with Sharon, she'll wake up in handcuffs and begin feebly phoning for assistance. Cole Howard will discuss Victor's job offer with Victoria Newman at the Jazz Lounge and acknowledge that he's considering declining it. Cole won't be certain about the toxic corporate climate, even though managing a publishing division would be a dream come true in certain aspects. More significantly, Cole will be concerned about working for Victor and the potential for his amazing life with Victoria and Claire to fall apart. Victoria will reassure Cole that their relationship is solid and that he shouldn't base his choice on it. Cole won't know for sure what his response will be, but he will appreciate the assurance on Monday's YNR episode. According to spoilers for The Young and the Restless, Victoria and Cole may face some startling new difficulties in the future. We'll provide you with more predictions about all the chaos.